Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Scrutinizing Sunday. Guys, my name is Sam Stevenson, if you don't know who I am. And I spent a bunch of time as an engineer, spent a bunch of time framing, spent time doing things in construction. And now I am talking about how to build the design firm that I am currently building and all the business lessons that I learned along the way and life lessons and all that wonderful stuff. That's why we're here today. That is what we are going to talk about. Quick shout out to Mr. Will Stevenson in the chat already. That's right, folks. Like that smash button because the more dopamine you give me, the more I like to do what I'm doing. And if this is valuable for you, then that means I'm rewarded, which means you're rewarded. So it's a good thing for everyone. Also, shout out to Eugene. Happy Sunday. That's right, Eugene. Good to have you back, sir. Let's get right into it here, folks. So let's get my notes here. Looks like we're going to have a little Mr. Pumpkin's going to be a regular, assuming he's not out eating squirrels. The other day, he left half a squirrel on my porch. Tried to bring it inside. He's a good lad. All right. So one of the things I did last week was I changed the environment where I was working. I live in another apartment. There's basically two rooms, and I had my business and life stuff kind of mixed up. And I moved all the studio, all the business equipment, all the TV, everything, like the screen that I work on is all in this room now. And that was extremely valuable. If you guys have a space, you work from home or anything like that, and you kind of got things mixed around, focus is extremely hard to get when there are distractions around you. And like I have a bike hanging on the wall. I've got like a keyboard. There's just stuff in the other space. And I moved everything into here and removed everything that was non-business related. And it's been super helpful. Like I closed the door to my closet, closed the door to my bedroom. When I am in here, I have nothing to think about except work. And that's been like super key because I was trying to like figure out some hacks for myself to try to get more time out of my week. Like that was the barrier that I was hitting. I was like 50, 60 hours and I would get distracted by stuff. And yeah, it was really good. Definitely a good idea that I have like this chair and this little futon couch thingy because and I also got a chair for the standing desk, which by the way, I recommend if you're gonna have a standing desk that you have some way of sitting at the desk as well. I was standing only for a long time, and I have to say that like the whole point was to fix my posture, and having a chair allowed me to focus less on my legs. I was being distracted by the fact that my legs were tired or whatever. And so it was just one more thing. So the more you can think about what's on your screen or whatever you're focusing on, the better. Quick shout out to Mr. Wyatt MG. Good morning, sir. Good to have you. Let's learn some things. All right. So yeah, I changed the environment. I put everything in one space, super hyper focused space. Good move there. So yeah, I recommend doing that in whatever ways you can. That's an important thing to do. Obviously, if you work out in the field or you don't have an office job, it's a little bit different, but same idea. And the other nice thing was that I could take my phone and I can leave it in the other room. And if I leave the ringer on, somebody calls me, I know it's important. Like it's not going to pull me away. I used to work with my phone on my desk. Bad idea. Bad idea, guys. We are just apes. We're just angry. We're hairless murder apes, as some would say. And so we ought to train ourselves how to do things better because we're just animals like everyone else. All right. So on the subject of training, I was trying to figure out how can I get more out of myself, right? Because we can't often tell ourselves what to do, how to do it. We have to negotiate with ourselves, the animal brain. And it's not necessarily that you can't develop the willpower to do it, but as my wise brother would say, who was in the chat, the more you can make things easier for yourself, the more likely you are to do it. And so we ought to make things easy for ourselves that we want to do. So if you sit down and you think about, hey, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of habits do I want that person to have? Then you go through that process. And I highly recommend the book Atomic Habits for figuring that out. I had gone through that last week and I implemented a bunch of stuff from that book and it all worked. It's all moving me forward, which is great. And I'm going to talk about a different book this week because it's a little bit more controversial, I think. But yeah, so one of the things that happened was I moved everything in here, increased the focus. I was trying to get more hours out of my workday and decrease the amount of time I'm spending doing other stuff, right? So there's life maintenance and there's work, right? So all of the things in the life maintenance category are personal things like cleaning or going to the skate park or spending time with family or like all the stuff that makes my life go round. And on the other side is all the stuff that makes me more money and like solves people's problems. Um, and so it turns out, out of the Atomic Habits book, one of the things you can do is you can use habit stacking, I think is what he called it. And the very act of doing a habit you already have sets you up to succeed with the next thing you're trying to train yourself. And so what I realized was that over time, I had actually built up a lot of really tiny individual good habits. And if I just strung them together, it builds me a bunch of momentum, and then momentum just carries me through the day. Right. So if there's something you're trying to train yourself to do, uh, habit stacking is one way to increase the likelihood that you're going to do something. In my case, if it's I want to work more hours, then I don't want to be in the workroom sometimes. I want to go do something else. But if I want to be someone who works more, I must be in the workroom more. And therefore, I'm going to go do some other things like cooking is a great example, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I like to eat 3 meals because I like to grow big and strong. Everybody's got their own strategy, but I like to eat 3 meals. And so for multiple reasons. One, when I'm cooking, it's an operation, right? It's a process. It's, hey, I'm doing this thing, I'm doing this thing, I'm doing this thing. I clean this, I clean this, I clean this. And there's a bunch of little habits that you can build into that process. So by the time I'm done cooking, I have checked a bunch of boxes in my like, yeah, I've got good habit routine going, and I can carry that momentum into the next thing I'm supposed to do. And the honestly, one of the biggest things is just like not inserting your phone into your system, into your process. That's extremely valuable. Um, there's not very many things that you need out of your phone in most cases. Like if you're communicating by email or whatever, like maybe it's on your computer or whatever, but yeah, don't insert the phone because it's not adding any value. And the the other thing I was trying to train to get more time back was um, getting my dopamine checks, my dopamine hits. Right, I was trying to decrease those. One of the things that's part of my building a better me thing is removing unnecessary like dopamine hits, mostly from technology, social media, stuff like that. And so if I find myself being drawn to doing a thing in my phone, I'm trying to like cut that out just for the sake of cutting it out. It just makes the rest of life better in a lot of ways. But yeah, don't insert the phone. Use other things. Now, along with stringing together habits that are good, that you already have to build your momentum, you can train yourself like you would train a dog, right? Or like you would train your wife. I'm just, some might disagree, but something like that. And so the idea is if there's a thing I don't want to do that I know I'm struggling to do, and like we all know what it feels like to be in that moment of I want to do a thing I know isn't good for me or is not helping me improve in any way. And I would rather use my time to do a higher leverage thing that I know improves me, but I don't want to do that thing. Then if you can summon the willpower and the momentum and the motivation from other stuff and succeed in doing the thing, then reward yourself for doing the thing. And so one of the two things that I do for that is I love chocolate milk, guys. And so I've got a big jug of chocolate milk in the fridge, and I also love these little Greek yogurt chocolate bar things. And so I treat myself like, and you can't cheat yourself either. Like you have to treat it like you're going to legitimately trying to train someone else or train a dog or whatever, or raise a child, whatever it is. Like you wouldn't want to train the dog to do a thing and then it does it and then you don't reward it. Like you got to treat it the same way. And so I've been doing that and it's working so far. Like I'm not special. I'm just a mammal, just a human. So do those things. Whatever you find difficult, find a way to reward yourself with something that you know you like that maybe you don't need, but is a thing that will give you that dopamine hit that's like, I did a good thing. Yes, reward. I like this. I don't focus too much on the opposite side. Like, okay, I did the thing I knew I shouldn't have done. I could discipline myself. I don't focus as hard on that. I focus more on the other side, but I also don't have a ton of things that I find that I shouldn't be doing. I'm just so perfect. Just kidding. All right. So the 4-Hour Work Week is the book that I wanted to talk about. If you haven't read it, I recommend that you expose yourself to it, but don't necessarily consume all of it. Like, if you find it's like, oh, this is very applicable to me, I want to use this, then do it. But there's some things in there that I don't know if I agree with. And one of the things you'll find in life as you have different mentors, different people, different strategies, is lots of people approach life in their own way. And you must figure out how you want to approach your life and do it your way, which means taking pieces of what other people do and use those pieces, but you can ignore the rest. So inside this book, The 4-Hour Work Week, the premise is a guy figures out how to basically make a bunch of money using little hacks and little exploits of industries in various ways. And that is cool. And that solves his problem for what he wants in life. But I don't think it's the thing for me. And the words he used a little ways into the book was the first case he makes is that when people think, I want a business, I want to make lots of money. His point is you don't actually want to make lots of money. You just want a really fun life. And so what you should actually do is figure out how to get the life you want with spending the minimal amount of time on making the lots of money and then just live the life you want. And I agree with the premise, like it's all about leverage. I'm just using different words to describe the same thing. But I don't necessarily agree with the timing and like how he does things. Now he's very successful, so like he's doing it right. He's doing it a great way, I guess. In my case, a lot of what he talked about was about almost from the position of being someone who has already figured a lot of things out and is going to now start extracting and converting the time into the enjoyment. So remember how I said in the beginning, there's like the work time, solving people's problems time, and there's like personal, make my life feel good, go do fun things time. There's a sort of a balance between those two things. And I would argue that the younger you are, the more you should be spending time in the work side. But that's a function of how much you want to get out of life. I particularly want to get a lot out of my life because I only have one. And so I would like to move fast and move with high leverage. And I would like to do a ton of it because the more you invest in this like heavy side up front, the faster you're going to climb that ladder. And then at some point, if you wanted to like change the ratio, if you change the ratio a little bit, when you've got a ton of money, you can get tons of fun. If you change the ratio a lot, when you have a little bit of money, you might be able to also have tons of fun, but like you can trade it and now you're going to have tons of fun, but now you don't have like a lot of money left, or you don't have like as much of the leverage in the other ratio because your time is being spent over here having fun, not getting more of this. And I want to leave a legacy. I want to do all of the things that like most dudes generally like to do. And I want to, build a world. I have big dreams and I want, here's the word he used in the book. He said, people shouldn't build businesses or whatever. They should build a muse. And I disagree with that concept myself. I don't want to build a muse. I don't want to build this hack secret trick thing that exploits a few different things. And like, it solves problems because it makes money, right? Anything that solves problems in the world makes money. But I want to build a bigger thing than just a automated hack system that like prints money for me. And the only way I could, I think, describe that is that I want to build an empire or a world where I can help other people become part of my world and solve more problems that way. I think that's the only way I could describe it. And a lot of the stuff he was describing, like on the business side, there was a lot of software, a lot of tools, a lot of outsourcing, a lot of other stuff that's like, hey, if you're a guy, here's how you avoid building a business and just get a bunch of money. And like I want to build the business. And what's one of the things he specified was like, a Muse is not a Fortune 500 company. A Muse is not a business enterprise. It's a way for you to hack the system, get a bunch of money. So I don't want to hack the system. Like, I want leverage. Don't get me wrong. I want to be able to put very little time in and get a lot of money out and then go have a lot of fun and still like make the money and like all that stuff. Right. But there's also a point of the frame of the book, which is that somehow the work itself is bad. The work itself is not a thing you want to be doing. And I don't think I agree with that. I think there's a lot of stuff in this world, and there's a lot of, I won't get in too heavy to this topic because it's not necessarily super relevant, but I think a lot of men are conditioned a certain way to solve a certain problem for a certain type of person. And therefore, it's incumbent upon men, like the men have this mindset that they are going to work hard for this other purpose that is not the sake of working hard that like makes the man better and stronger and feels good. Like, the work itself is the reward. And one of the things that I have to say about running a business and being an entrepreneur or whatever, like solving problems for people, is yes, I like to get paid. The work is not always fun, but the act of somebody who needs a problem solved, who's very important to me or very high status, and I have the resources to solve that problem. Like, that's rewarding in and of itself. And it's probably rewarding to my monkey brain because it's like, oh, you solve their problem. That means you get to be part of the community, which means you survive longer, right? You want to be part of tribes, part of communities. So I think the work itself is very rewarding. And so I prefer to build a machine where I can just get more out of the machine that I build and keep putting my time back into it. Cause like it's just self-perpetuating. So that's the thing that I want to think about that I would encourage you guys to think about is, what do you want to build? And, do you like, there's a path. I streamed about this. It was probably right before I started doing scrutinizing Sundays and coming down to Texas. I was up in Washington, and one of the last streams I did up there, I talked about the business direction I was trying to take. And there were two options. One was, do I teach people how to do everything that I know how to do? Or do I just build a big service business or build a great service business? I'm not super concerned with it being huge for the sake of huge. It's just going to be the best. And which growth path do I want? Right now, if you live in a world where you can like build this Muse, like it's connected to the Muse thing, right? I'm going to create a bunch of courses that teaches people how to solve a problem. The growth path is like, explosive, but it teeters out at a certain size because there's a certain capacity and like there's a certain battle you're going to have to fight with retaining customers and this, that, the other, because when you teach someone something, they don't need you anymore. If I draw you a plan and you really like that I drew you a plan and you paid me money and you want to draw a plan in the future, but you don't know how to draw a plan, guess what? You're going to come back to me, which means the growth curve just keeps going. That's what I want to build. And I had decided to do that because I don't just want the thing that's going to make me a ton of money really fast now. I want to build the empire. So if you want the opposite, you just want to make a bunch of money. And like, there's no right or wrong strategy here. Like, if you want your business or your income source to generate a bunch of money really fast because you've got this other thing that makes you like, you're really good at investing in toenail clippings, then you should go do that thing. Like that's what you should go invest in. If I know I could get a 5x in 1 year by investing in toenail clippings, then I want to make as much money as possible, as fast as possible, so I can go invest in the toenail clippings. That's what you should do, because that buys you all your time back to do the things that you love and enjoy. And that's what most people don't think about, is the whole like love and enjoy thing, and the system they want to build, and all that wonderful stuff. So I'm not going to invest in toenail clippings myself. I'm going to invest my energy and time back into doing this business. So that's that. So do you want to muse, or do you want to build a business? That's something you should think about. What if grinding is the best part of life? I think there's something Hormozy talks about frequently, which is the game, like, are you married to the game itself? I think I tweeted about this recently, but is the act of having a problem to overcome and building a solution the part of life that you want to do, or is it something else, right? So like what he says is like the goal of marriage is not to like win. Like you don't win at marriage. You win at marriage by staying married. Like that's his corollary. And then he follows it up with like, if you want to be in business, you win at business by just staying in business, by continuing to grow, by continuing to build. I have not met a lot of people in this industry that are designers currently. Just like I've met a few, but a lot of them basically like they don't scale it. And they don't scale it partially because it's really hard. Like it's hard to teach someone all of the things that come together that make me able to put lines on paper in a certain way that somebody can build something. That's a tough skill to transfer because there's like 1,000 million kajillion tiny skills that are part of that. I happen to have broken that out, and so it makes it easier for me. But most people don't do that. And I think most people don't do that because you can make a lot of money just drawing. Like if I stopped trying to grow the business right now, I would be okay. I literally would be fine. I could do tons of other fun things, and well, not tons. I could do a reasonable amount of other fun things with a reasonable budget, right? And have a great like leverage on my time. I could do that, but that's not what I'm interested in. So for you guys, where's I going with this? Yeah. Do you want to build the thing that is like, do you want to get good at something and then continue? That's what it is. Trading your time. Like, do you want to trade your time? Well, you're always going to be trading your time. It's just about how much leverage you have. But do you want to have a job? Do you want to have a very high leverage job, or do you want to have an insanely high leverage like time investment thing that you've got, right? So if I spend 10 hours a year checking on how the direction of like the business of like whatever direction of the business I've got is going and all that stuff, like, and it makes all this money for me, that's just really high leverage, but it's not really a job anymore at that point. So, that, and it comes with challenges. Like it comes with its own set of problems. If you're going to try to play that game, you're going to be continually challenged for your life. Like the whole point in business is that when you get into it, for you to get the next step and the next growth, you're going to have to learn a bunch of stuff you don't already know. And you're going to have to spend a bunch of money and make mistakes and lose the money just to like figure it out. So some people don't want to experience that level of discomfort. They like where they're at. And that's like a personal thing. So I don't think I like where I'm at. I think that's all I'm saying. I just want more. I'm a greedy monkey. I could use maybe another orange kitten for Mr. Pumpkin. I think he would like that. And maybe 35 children. That'd be cool. Make an army. Okay. So regardless of what you're going to do, one of the valuable things I got out of the 4-Hour Workweek book, which I did not finish, which is kind of a funny thought. We'll come back to that. Guarding your time is important. People need to understand that your time is important. First of all, you need to understand that your time is important, which means Once you believe it, you have to set boundaries to guard your time. And that involves like limiting your email checking, limiting your phone call answering, your texting, like all those little things where people are trying to like come at you for things. You got to guard it to the extent that you want to guard your time. But that's important. And what's the last connection here? Yeah. Okay. So I didn't finish the book. Inside the book, they made a point that was don't consume information for the sake of it. That's one of the things that people do lots in life that is wasting their time is they hoard information just because they want to have it. And it's like, okay, that's cool and all, but like that needs to be solving a problem. If it's not solving a problem, then like you're just consuming it because you're basically trying to keep yourself busy. He says being busy is being lazy. I would argue that being busy, making low leverage moves is not smart, or at least it's not high leverage by definition. So here's how I'd piece this together. Hormozy would say, if you're a young dude, work 12 hours a day, grind on something. This guy would probably say, hey, work really hard to find this little hack in life so that you can work 2 hours a day instead and make a lot of money. I would come back at that with the Hormozy strategy, which is that, bro, if I found out how to make a bunch of money spending only 2 hours a day, then I want to spend 12 hours a day doing it and make 6 times more money. Like, yeah. So that comes down to like the what's the word? That comes down to the conditioning part. Like, I don't want to be conditioned that my job is to go make a bunch of money to solve someone else's problem. I'm going to do it because I want to make a bunch of money. Like I control my time. That's why I want to do it. So yeah, don't consume information for the sake of it. It's not as high leverage. And so one of the things in the book was he said basically stop reading a whole bunch of audiobooks except this one. Finish this one, which of course is important because he's, selling his own story and his own book and his own programs, his own stuff. So of course he's going to do that. But what I decided was this guy's ultimate frame on life was not the same frame that I had. And so there's a few little like important nuggets that he says that are in that book. I'm going to go back to the book because I didn't write them down. Extract the nuggets, apply them to my life to get more leverage out of my time, and leave the rest. I'm not interested in only working 2 hours a day or 2 hours a week to make a bunch of money. I'm interested in working much more at the same leverage to make a fuck ton of money. That's what I'm interested in. So, man, if I'm not rolling up to the skate park in a Lambo, I haven't made it yet. Okay. So yeah. Extra info baggage is still baggage. If you guys ever go through the process of like cleaning out your junk, your physical junk, and you're like, get rid of a bunch of stuff, and now you just have less junk in your life, and you're like, wow, all this weight's lifted. The same is true for mental information, for mental baggage. That you like, if you learn things that aren't important, there's just gonna have stuff in your head that's not important. So, learn stuff that's important. Let's see. How is that? Yeah, okay, so that transitions into there are many ways to learn something. There are many things you can learn and many ways to learn it. One of the things that I've been trying to figure out as I build a culture of rapid designs is how do I transfer the building experience that I have into the person who's going to take my seat, who's going to be behind the brain behind the lines on the paper, right? Because I want the lines on the paper to represent something that's real. And like part of rapid designs is that we draw stuff that's real. We draw stuff that's buildable. We draw stuff that's not going to have crap built into it. We know what we're drawing. We know what it means. And so how do I transfer that information? And one of the things that I am currently involved in is a process. We're going to build 2 houses up in Bryan. And I've learned a lot from that experience. That's the first time I've been with someone who is building and really knows what they're doing and how to like crank out some houses really fast. So that's a totally different experience where I'm getting a whole bunch of contextual information, processes, Excel sheets, all this stuff. And so I can see how being a designer fits into that. And I have to keep that in my forefront of my mind because I'm doing it because I want to be a better designer. I want to build a better business. Like I got to stay focused on the goal. I love building houses, but I don't want to be a builder. I don't want to be doing that because I know that there's a lot of stuff I don't know about that, but I know a lot about drawing plans. So got to keep the context right. But anyway, I could potentially maintain some kind of relationship building process with this person that's like, hey, if I hire 3 people, my 3 people are going to be trained and basically be part of your project managing system for you to build. That way you get high leverage and then my people get trained. And like, there's this whole like transaction thing going on and my people learn all the valuable building skills that I learned. And then I thought more about that situation because it's a great opportunity, but you have to temper your opportunities carefully because every opportunity is a risk, potential growth, but it is a risk. And so you want to think about the trade-off. Most people don't think about opportunity cost to every single decision they make. They're like, oh, I could make money doing this, or oh, I could build wealth doing this, or oh, I could do this. No. Everything has an opportunity cost. Everything is a ratio to something else. I could put all my money into toenail clippings because I understand how to 10x my money in toenail clippings, which means that if my friend's trying to like tell me, hey man, like you should buy a house or you should go do this thing that's going to pull money away from my potential toenail clipping thing. And it's going to like, that's where the money goes. And that gets me a 2x on my money instead of my 10x from the toenail clippings. Then like, that's not smart. You shouldn't do that. But if your goal is to get more money at the end of the day, then don't spend your time doing the other thing. So yeah, so you want to maximize your leverage, and you maximize leverage by repeating the same thing over and over and getting really, 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 really good at one thing. So I think there's probably a higher leverage move to be extracted out of this particular building scenario where I said I can see with my eyes and all the paperwork and all the files, which I have access to, and I've been told I can download all these things. I can package that into a training thing that says, like, I don't need to pay my employee, let's say, all this time and effort to go actually build the house. I could say, hey, by the way, when someone builds a house, this is the stuff they did. This is where we fit in as the designer. This is where they referenced the plan. This is where the plan was used. Here's how we add value to the plan to make these things better, better, better for the builder. Here's the information and how you fit in. They don't need to go spend 3 months building a house. I could condense that information, deliver it in a package that's like, oh, now they understand. And you've saved hundreds of hours of like expense as like employees and stuff, which saves the business money, which gives the business more money to pay the employee. Like it's all leverage. So I think that's something to be thought about. I'm gonna do that, I think. And the hardest part about opportunities is knowing when to say no to maximize the thing you want the most. So that's my thought. Let's see. But yeah, most people don't consider opportunity cost. People get excited about new ideas that they just aren't familiar with. And they're like, oh, the thing that I am doing right now isn't working very well for me. What about this other thing that's greener on the other side, right? And that usually is just like, oh, you just don't know how much work or how complicated or how many things can go wrong on the other side. Like people see, someone sees somebody make, 400x their money with Dogecoin and they're like, oh, I should get into crypto because I could make 400x, but they don't see what it actually took and the likelihood of that actually happening and all of the things that go into that being realistic. So they hop right in and then they lose all their money. So also, I have this great, fantastic mug here from my brother. It is a Hex mug. So guys, you should check out hex.com and what is it? Hex.GoScout or GoScout.hex.com. Will, if you're in the chat, throw some links in there. Tell people to go check out that thing. Because if you guys want to learn about the thing that's better than Bitcoin, you should go check it out. Because I love it. And it's a thing that I do to make money. So if you're interested in doing a thing that I'm doing, check it out. Because I think it's working. Okay. So Health, wealth, and relationships. We'll talk a little bit about that because I was talking about the personal life balance and the business balance. I would say that they are related. Like my mental health is both a function of am I able to solve important problems for important people and also all these fun things I like to do. So, there's like different things that like I would say health, wealth, and relationships are in both categories because it's like you got relationships with business people. But health is not so much. Health is like workout, fitness, lifestyle, like fresh air, eating grass, not eating grass, touching grass. um, don't eat grass, eat red meat. Um, all that stuff. So yeah, think about those things. Think about the balance, um, and that'll be good for you. That keeps you, generally focused on like, okay, how am I doing in each of those three categories? And last topic of learning was a conversation I had with the next, probably the first employee of Rapid Designs. Um, and we were talking about business strategy, and he gave me a thought on a very wise point. We're discussing two directions to go in terms of types of people that we work with when we draw plans. One type of person is like the homeowner who's like somebody who wants a house plan. They may or may not have a builder picked out, but they kind of know what they want. And you basically help them get a set of house plans that they can go build. The risk there is that like there has to be a budget understanding. Like they have to know the square footage they need to work within in most cases, to make it realistic. So you got to watch out for that. But there's that type of people to work with as a customer. And there's also builders. Okay. On the flip side of that is you work with a builder. And the builder has people who want to build with him, and he has someone that he gets his plans drawn with. Now, basically, I can charge the builder way less money and still make the same money per time than I charge the consumer. And the reason for that is that consumers just take more time. They just they don't have a filter on what they think they need or what they want, or like they just know less, and so they're not self-filtering. And so your job as the designer is to be the filter, which requires giving them all your time. And in order to give like the same high value product and solving the problems the best, you just have to charge like 2 to 3 times more when you're working with a consumer because they just take 2 to 3 times as long. So, two different types of people to work with. Now, the important point that was brought up here, and you can apply this to whatever your scenario is with the types of clients you potentially work with, is the variability in the consumer base. So there is less variability in the work I get from builders in terms of the amount of time it takes me. For example, I got builder A, builder B, builder C. I charge some like average price per square foot, and my time, the data on the time it takes me to like accomplish each job has less of a standard deviation. Like it's more consistent data. I'm more consistent. On the other side with consumers, I might get a consumer that's like already knows what they want. They're just like, I just need this on paper, dude. Like, here's the idea. Here's all the stuff. Just knock this out. Like, I don't need to have any meetings. Just do this thing. We'll do like 2 or 3 back and forths on the plans. You'll be done. Cool. That project is like completed in like maybe 10 to 15 hours. Or you work with someone who like wants to have a bunch of meetings, wants to see things on the screen in person. Like they need that level of value to be confident in the thing they're getting. Therefore, it takes 30 to 40 hours to do their job. And the trick is you have to be able to charge different prices for each person. Or like you need to be able to adjust, because if you only charge by like what it's like when someone's doing it well, then you're going to make way less money and your numbers aren't going to work, or they're going to work less when you're working with the long time person. And if you're working with the long time person, you're charging their rates to the person who's going to be super fast, then like you could make a bunch of money doing that, working for people that are fast. But then the problem is that like your product is only so good. And I would rather maintain a big goodwill barrier between my price and what they're getting. I'd rather have them get a great thing and get a great price, and I make a bunch of money. Like I'd rather do that than make like tons of money and have like, my product is really like only up here because like this amount of goodwill up here that's left over is the part that's used for like getting the reviews and making like how happy are they, how content are they at the end of the process, like how much do they really like me, how likely are they to recommend me, like that's gas in the tank, that goodwill that's going to be burnt up somehow, and I'd rather like build up that gas in the tank and like use that to because that fuels the growth of the business in other ways. So that's the balance, that's the strategy, right? So in terms of business direction, it's also very different kinds of work to deal with a builder than it is a consumer. Um, if you are the kind of person who would like to be some type of counselor, like, marriage counselor would be one way to think about it, then you should become a designer and you should draw for couples. And most of the time, most people that are building custom homes are couples. People generally like single dudes and single women for whatever reason, just generally don't build custom homes as far as I've seen. I don't think I've ever had a single client, which means in most cases, when you're building a house, the guy wants a few things to happen and the girl wants to design the house. Like that's generally how the balance goes. And that's sort of fair. And you can call me sexist, but like in most cases, the woman's going to spend more time in the house solving the problems that the house has. Therefore, the design is more relevant to her lifestyle and her efficiency and all that stuff. So like, it's fair. Obviously, that's a function of like people's lifestyles are different. But in that case, like I'm in the South, this is just like where I draw. This is just kind of like what happens. And so drawing with most couples who I would argue most couples don't have as positive of a relationship dynamic that I would like to employ. And therefore, there's stress that comes along with making important decisions in those types of relationships. Therefore, most work I do with most couples is stressful work because they're stressing on their end and I'm just like there being part of it. That's draining mentally and emotionally in like other ways because you're just like exposed to this. On the other side, when you work with a business, you're dealing with like professionals and people are like, hey, I want this done. Boom, 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 boom. Like super clear, super communicative. Like, let's solve these problems. Let's do this thing. Let's like, client wanted all these things. Let's condense this down into this. This is what we are going to do. Boom, diada, knocked out. So two different kinds of people to work with. And so the question is, would you rather, let's say you're getting paid the same amount of dollars per hour. This is the question I posed to Mr. Potential New Employee Guy is, would you rather do more house designs and spend like, let's say 7 to 10 hours per design? Or would you rather spend 30 hours per design? And while you're doing the 30 hours, you're riding this boat of a relationship that's like relatively toxic, sort of, depending on how you look at it. And you're like part of this dramatic mess. Or you're like working with a bunch of professionals that take you seriously and everybody's like doing a great thing, having a great time. And you just like have smaller projects. And I think there's when I frame it like that, it's like, well, obviously you would do the other one. You'd want to work with builders because it's like, it's just better in every way. And here's the other thing that happens. This is a legitimate problem. The more time you spend in a plan, the more likely you are to mess the plan up. And that's a function of like freshness and energy and focus, right? If I spend 30 hours working on the same set of plans in the same file and I keep moving stuff around, like part of what makes rapid designs so effective in terms of quality is that I have a bunch of steps in a particular order. That's like when I go through this process, it's very consistent and I get a very good result every time. As soon as you start going back into it and like going back to step B, going back to step D, nope, let's go back to step C. Like as soon as you start doing that and you start cycling through, you are introducing all kinds of potential error. And there's a million times more of that happening on the consumer side than the builder side. So like reward, professionalism, positivity, like time in project, you're more rewarded by like, oh, let's get new house design. Everything's fresh. You're solving different problems. You're not getting like drained. You just like, this doesn't make any sense to do it the other way. And so I need to sell more. I need to get more builders. Just long story short. So let's address the chat. Chat's been popping here. let's go over here and address this situation. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Oh, we got Mr. Wyatt here. Okay. I need to full screen this to read it from this far away. I don't believe in the balance. The funnest times I've had were doing jobs across the country. Bro, that's it. Exactly. Yeah. Like it's like the work is the life. That the work is the balance, bro. Nailed it on the head. No pun intended, because you build things. Excellent perspective. Oh, thank you. Thank you, brother. I don't remember what I was talking about at this point, but hopefully it was a good perspective. Toes do be exponentially increasing in value. Yeah, so I was talking about investing in toenail clippings. Think about it this way, right? The population of the world is going to continue to increase theoretically. I'm assuming, I'm making a bunch of assumptions. I don't really know. And therefore, there will be more toes in the world, and toes need clipping in most societies. So therefore, investing in toenail clippings might be, Ponzi, like a network effects. Everything goes up and to the right. So like, hey, if that's the rate, then do that. Greedy monkey with 35 kids. Yes, like who wouldn't want an army? No, it would not come with its, level of sacrifice. It's all liquidity pools in a Uniswap V2 formula. Yes, for those that don't have context, liquidity pools are a function of cryptocurrency and markets trading back and forth, centralized, decentralized exchanges, stuff like that. Uniswap V2 is a decentralized exchange formula that calculates pricing and all of these wonderful things in the crypto world. For those that don't know, so Mr. Will Stevenson, he's got this DGen Roundtable thing in his title. Y'all should check out the DGen Roundtable on YouTube. It's a great channel for teaching about like, hey, how does money work? What is cryptocurrency? Is cryptocurrency important? Should I be involved? The short answer is yes, cryptocurrency is important. Unless you would like to stay under a rock, it's something you should know how, you should know how it works. You should know that it's a thing. And if you want to miss out on 20x your money, you do you, that's fine. But that's not what I'm about. Okay, we got some links. Hexscout.com. That's what it was. Thank you, brother. We got Jenna Nelson in the chat. Hello, Jenna. Thanks for coming on. Hopefully you can apply some of this sage business advice to yourself. She's running a fantastic esthetician business up there in the good old state of Iowa. So if you like corn or keeping your face clear, go check her out because she's got some great information. Mr. Pumpkin. Yes, Mr. Pumpkin is the value added part of my show to keep people interested. He does a good job being comfy. He's already had his fun this morning. He's ready for his first nap of the day. So that's what he's doing. And from Mr. Wyatt, have you ever had a site visit for a plan change and the wife and husband screaming at each other in front of 6 people? Yeah, dude. There's some seriously defective relationships. I would argue that if screaming is involved at any point, I don't know. Me personally, I would give 1 or maybe 2 opportunities, probably just 1, for a woman to scream at me before she does not get to be a part of my life anymore. Probably just 1 because they got to test the boat at some point and they're women. So it's going to happen. But they need to know that that's not a thing that's going to happen. And if you're a man, why are you screaming at a woman? Why is that necessary? Why are you letting her emotional roller coaster affect you? But yeah, dude, that's rough. I've heard some tough conversations and I've heard some insults thrown back and forth while on a call. I think you could probably relate, which is why you've got this wonderful point here. I think that's funny. Yeah. It's a real thing. It's funny, man. Thank you for sharing that story. And there it is. DGen Roundtable. Go check it out. There's a link. It's a very valuable place for lots of very valuable information. Don't try to understand it. Just charge more. Yes. There you go. That's what you do. It just makes up for you. Yeah. You know what? There's something to be said for that. Here's the balance. Here's the argument to be made for why maybe Rapid Designs should only be working with consumers. If the cost of working with consumers is, let's say it's 5, okay, fine. I'm going to charge 5 times as much to work with these people and just make an obscene amount of money. And it'll be worth it. They'll be screaming at each other and I'll be happy because I'll be making $1,000 an hour and it's not going to be a big deal. Everybody's going to be happy. If I'm doing that, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's worth it. And consumers, like, it's different to sell to consumers, right? Selling B2B is not the same as selling B2C. Like, I could employ way more psychological tricks to sell to a consumer because, like, they don't really know, right? They're not in business. Like, they're going to be less informed generally. Like, they're not hot in the market. And so, like, I could have an easier time selling a 5x price to a consumer. And if I give them the value, then, like, great. Like, people love it when I do the screen sharing and like they can see the house. It just, like, it solves this huge problem. And nobody else does that as far as I know. And so, like, if you're a designer watching this channel, get software where you can do 3D modeling and you can show the people. Like, if you want to work with these kinds of people and you can show them on a screen, God, they just eat it up. And yeah, it consumes a whole bunch of your time, but make it worth it. Charge what it's worth, because people love that. Especially the higher ticket houses you build, the more money people have, the more they want to know what they're going to get before they spend it. So, yeah, great idea for, like, industry hack and stuff like that. Did I? No, I didn't. I thought I closed out of the Instagram stream. I did not. Okay, there's the chats. Thanks, you guys, for coming on. Oh, we're not done. This week, here's what I'm going to do this week, guys. I'm going to sell, I'm going to draw, and we're going to do the Tuesday group hangout, 7:30 p.m. Central. I'll post a link in the Telegram. You can get to the Telegram. You can get to everything if you just go to the website I've got. Links in the description below, www.rapidarchitectural.com. And I don't have a way to type it into the chat because I'm way over here and the computer's way over there. But check it all out. Go do that. Love to have you in the community. On the subject of community, oh man, there was a thing I was going to mention in related to, like, stuff and things and doing things with people and support and fun and knowledge and learning. Boy, howdy, it's escaping me. Well, I don't remember what it was, but we have this community of great people. Oh, I almost got it. I almost remembered it. We got this community of great people, and yeah, join the Telegram. That's a great place to just, like, get the notifications of, like, when I'm doing little things. I was doing group IRLs and stuff for a little brief period of time. We had some fun here in College Station. We might try to go next one. The weather's cooling down here, so might do an IRL over, like, at a cool spot's called Enchanted Rock out here in Texas. It's just, like, this really cool, like, rock formation place with some caves and stuff. We'll just go check it out and just, like, enjoy life and talk about cool things. Yeah, I don't remember what the point was that I was going to say. And so that's where I'm going to end this. Maybe I'll remember it as soon as I get off the stream. I'll probably remember it as soon as I get off the stream. But that's fine. That's the way it goes. So thank you, everyone, for coming on the stream. It has been a fantastic time. I have greatly appreciated all the chats and all the wonderful, fun things you guys have to say. Let's get to another week of productivity. Let's solve people's problems. Let's make more money. Let's generate some economic activity. Let's improve our lives. Let's do all those wonderful things. And with that, we're going to take it out by some music from the one and only Green Observer. Started, of course, by a quote from the one and only Larry Hahn. And if you don't know who Larry Hahn is, you should look it up because he's a legend. With that, folks, let's take it out. Peace.
That's the code.